All right, so we're going to be talking about the various forms of split squatting and why it's important, and some different variations of how to coordinate and strengthen through that, as well as some transfers like getting down on the ground and how to do that. So basically, a split squat is when you are in a stride position, kind of elongated this way. You got one foot in front, your other leg's behind. You can't see it in frame there, but imagine my back foot, as I shift my weight forward over this front foot, just like in walking, I'm basically lifting up my heel in the back and I'm just on my toes there. And so what that does is it allows me to keep my weight here and not have to overload this leg, because what I want to do with that leg is I want to be able to bend that knee and basically drop down as I keep my weight forward as if I'm going to take a knee. And that's functionally important. If you're going to get down on the ground, you might want to use a strategy. Now, if you're really good at this, you could do it with nothing at all, or at least just use your own leg and kind of sit down to look with control, lower yourself down the ground. Now getting up, same thing. Put my weight here. Now, this is where I want to be very mindful, because this is very important and helpful. If I get my back toes down on the ground like they're loaded, like I was just showing there, you want to think I can actually push back through that rear leg and leverage myself up. Even though my weight's on my front and that leg's taking a lot of that load, I can actually leverage up by lifting that heel as my toes are tucked under me and driving myself up over this leg. It actually makes it a lot easier, both up and down, if I can control like that. So those are the key things you want to keep in mind, all right? So I have this chair here. I'm gonna have my hand on the seat of it, because if I'm up here, if I'm not careful, that thing could tip or slide. But if I'm down on the seat, that's the most solid part, because that's the part we sit on. So if I'm pushing more straight down there, now here's where this isn't gonna work as well. I'm actually gonna switch legs, and if it's your other leg that's stronger or more capable, you may want to be turned around here. So I've got my left arm on the seat, my right arm on my thigh, because that's always there and fairly reliable. And I wanna make basically a tripod between this arm and the seat, this arm and this foot here, leg, and then I've got my toes of my left leg now tucked underneath me. I'm gonna press back through there and leverage myself up, and I'm gonna press here. Now notice my arm's gonna run out of real estate first, so I'm gonna very quickly have to shift over here, but it's a lot easier once you're most of the way up. And then here, and then I gotta balance to bring my other foot out here, all right? And basically sit down. So it's much easier if you use good mechanics and leverage and all that. Now, if you want to strengthen this, yes, you could do this in this position, but it's usually a little bit difficult because you're kind of much lower here. If you want to start much higher because this is too difficult or cumbersome or whatever, what I would recommend is that you use a wall and you face the wall. I'm going to use so you can press your chest, hands, and keep your weight forward over that front foot, and then kind of, doing little dips there. Okay. Now, if going down low is too hard for you, you could, or if you're thinking about like stairs, which is also a functional form of a split squat, but rising up more, right? So you could have one foot on a step, and say if you had two sturdy railings, that'd be pretty good too, or a walker and like a step stool, that could work as well, especially if you're up against a wall, it's much safer. But I'm just going to show you against the wall here. So something like this. I'm going to get a nice long stride with my heel up, and I'm just going to keep my chest and hands forward, push forward over my front foot, and just kind of dip down. Now you might feel a good stretch here in the quads here, specifically one of those quads right down the middle on top. That's also a hip flexor. So as long as you're keeping your core engaged, that's also why I'm going to push the wall, because you don't want to be arching your back too much as you're doing this. You want to really keep that there, chest forward, and then get that good stretch in there if it's tight. It needs to be worked out. Last thing, if you want to really get a nice smooth flow going, you can use a slider, furniture mover, sturdy paper plate, right? If you're on a hard surface, make sure it's not too slippery, but you could use yours in your socks as long as you're okay with getting them dirty or a little worn. So you can do it that way too. You just gotta make sure you're stable and safe and in control. So here we go, sliders under my rear foot, under the toes, because that's the one that's not bearing weight. You don't want to have the slider on your weight bearing side, because it's like walking on ice. It's not a good strategy for balance. So I'm going to be here. Again, I'm just going to slide, dip down, keep my core engaged, keep my back straight, neutral, not smack my knee down. But that's a good way to work some stretching and with strength and coordination and fluidity, all those things that you might need to improve.